everybody. Welcome in on a Monday evening as we are 3 weeks and a few days away from the NFL draft. The NFL offseason is still in full swing. Just a three-man show tonight. Cody Stutes, he's not just not partaking tonight. He's actually doing football stuff. He's in Arizona at the owners' meetings getting all sorts of great content for everybody. So Cody's not on with us tonight, but we got the three of us here, and we're looking forward to talking with all you guys in the chat. Give us a like, give us a subscribe here. It is a Texans Collective Monday here on YouTube. I'm Sean Pendergast, one half of Payne and Pendergast on Sports Radio 610, 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. weekdays. Reggie Atatula right there next to me, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. on In the Loop on Sports Radio 610. And, of course, Landry Locker on the far side of the screen there. The Locker Room with Landry Locker as well as SNL, him and Cody Stutes. Gentlemen, it is great to chat here on a Monday evening. I just got done kind of fishing through some of the content coming out of the owners' meetings today. I believe all the AFC coaches and general managers and so forth are talking tomorrow. It was all NFC stuff today, but we did get the annual coaches and GM picture, and I would like to be the first ones to say two things. One, DeMeco Ryans is the most jacked coach in the picture this year. He's the one I'd least want to fuck with in that picture by far, and that includes Dan Campbell. Number two, Nick Caserio definitely wins Best Posture Award for the GMs. He is up straight ahead. So I'm very proud of our coach and GM for how they're always going to play well in the GM and head coach pictures at the owners meetings.
Yeah, they do a lot of making sure that they're working on their fitness or whatever.
I
did see someone do the along there with you on the Nick Caserio has great posture, and I feel like he has great posture of the GMs that are sitting. I don't know how we can tell this about the dudes that are standing up, because they all seem to be standing up pretty straight, right? Like maybe we got to do a little musical chairs, get some dudes sitting down, and then do a round robin or whatever. But I don't know that we can just, roundabout give that over to Nick Caserio just yet, can we?
My trophy, I can give it to whoever I want to. Yeah.
All right, well, sounds good. Very good.
I'm biased. Yeah, I'm biased.
Yeah, and then I'm with you on the DeMeco up to a point, because that Dan Campbell thing, man, he seems like he got more want to than anybody in the world, though. That's the only thing that scares me. Like, not to say that DeMeco don't got enough want to in him. I'm just saying, I don't know that I can say this without question that that's the dude that I would at least like to get my ass whooped by.
I think Vrabel's in the combo too.
Yeah.
I think DeMeco would tire him out. I don't know if I think Vrabel's got like 90 seconds of swinging on somebody in him. He's not in bad shape. He's not Andy Reid, but he doesn't look like he's ready. He looks like he needs a quick knockout is what I would say. I think that vest hides a lot of big meals.
Wow.
Yeah, you heard me. Well, if he's going to get into a fight with DeMeco Ryans, we're talking about tippy top elite. He can't be half-ass on the cardio, man. Sorry, Vrabel. Sorry, guys. So that's where Cody is, making judgments like that on pictures of GMs and head coaches, and I'm sure doing lots of other good stuff while he's out there, including DeMeco Ryans and Nick Caserio meeting with the media tomorrow. So there should be a lot of good stuff coming out.
Have we texted Cody about these things? I feel like what we should do is text Cody, see what his answers are, and then make sure that we get them to the people here on this very broadcast.
His agenda, what he's up to out there.
Oh no, I was just asking on his thoughts on who he would least like to fight. But I guess that would make more sense, right?
Teasing something. maybe
I'm the nonsense bringer. If you haven't been able to tell, of the four, I bring the nonsense.
All right, I'll text Cody. I'll text him while we're doing the show here. All right, fellas, so let's get into it. Some off-season stuff. You can see the menu to the on the side of the screen right there, and let's start with CJ Stroud, who we've heard very little from this offseason. It's similar to last offseason in that respect. We've not heard much from CJ Stroud. Other than him getting his hair cut and him giving autographed jerseys to that Cinco streamer guy over the weekend. It's been a pretty quiet offseason. I saw some pictures of CJ training in California also with a bunch of other NFL guys. So, and we've heard from his new teammates that he was among the first to text them when they traded for and signed them. So I like that level of engagement with CJ. That it's, it seems from that standpoint, he's very much in on what the Texans have been doing this offseason. What's the current confidence level based on just the very little that we've seen so far that CJ is going to bounce back from that rough end of last season?
Landry?
It's not low, but it's not high. So I hate to sit on the fence here. I think he has potential to do it. I think they're putting their best foot forward when it comes to surrounding him. It's just, it's not so much that it happened. It's just the way it happened and how much of a hurdle that is, I think, mentally, as much as anything. So I'm confident that they're going to surround him appropriately. But I'm not like just 100% ready to throw all my chips on the table for CJ Stroud at this point. I think there's reason for pessimism, and I think there's reason for a healthy amount of skepticism.
I am very happy that that's your answer, and hopefully I can provide you a level of solace. I also do not know. I don't know. And honestly, I would love to know the people that feel like they know why that is the case, because we have seen all of the flashes. I'm very much a proponent of proof of concept. When we talk about sports, like, you get in here, give me an idea. Let me see the flashes that prove the concept and the idea of what I want. And then let's go and see if we can replicate this on a consistent basis. We've seen plenty of proof of concept with CJ Stroud in various different arenas, running an offense, throwing all the professional passes, even utilizing his legs. We've seen him do all the things. The question is, and I don't know if this is everybody, but I feel like we're largely in the circumstance where we're going, it's between here and buddy, I don't know what the metric is to get between there. I don't know what the equipment is. Is there a protractor of some sorts, rulers? Is there is there a scale of some sort that we get? There's nothing that we can use to measure that portion of this. And so, like, we can't find out until we get him back out here. And the worst part about it is, it's not even that we can't find out until we get him back out here. We got him out here in training camp who looks great. Does that give you confidence that he doesn't melt down? Right? We get him week 3, week 7, week 12. Does that give you confidence that he doesn't melt down? Not saying that means that he will or not, but again, there's nothing that we can do to answer this until we get to postseason. So confidence in CJ Stroud is only so far as I know he can do all the stuff, which, I mean, that's not nothing in the National Football League. Playing quarterback at this level is really, really hard. So the idea that he can do all the stuff is something. But we've seen dudes who can do all the stuff who can't get it together between the ears before. And that is the thing that ultimately scares me. And I don't know what level of cutting his hair gives us an answer on that. I don't know what level of him locking in and not being seen amongst the people and not doing podcasts where he ranks himself top 5. Like, I don't know if any of that gives us any idea into this. But I do hope that, those big, shifts, like we did a whole bunch of talking about when he cut his hair, like, does this then represent somebody who's locked in? Hopefully. And that's like, it sucks because that's as good of an answer as I can give you is hopefully.
Why do you think it seems like with CJ, just the chatter around CJ, more than the normal quarterback who, had a rough last game in the playoffs, your garden variety quarterback that had a rough game and his team lost. And now you head into the offseason. Like Justin Herbert's never won a playoff game. Do they talk about Justin Herbert like this out in LA? Like, how is he going to get over this? How is he going to get over this mental hurdle? It feels like with CJ, and maybe we're just too close to it. It feels like with him, more than your average quarterback, there's this fear that this is just some sort of mental block or psychological thing that's just going to take over his brain. And now he's just not very good at football anymore.
For me with Herbert, like, and that's, I get a lot of that. I don't necessarily see the comparison because Justin Herbert threw 4 interceptions in a playoff game. We watched the game. I thought it was as much about the defense and the fact that the Texans just kind of overwhelmed him, much like they did Joe Flacco the year before in that round, and much like they did Aaron Rodgers the year before in that round. There was a couple of bad throws. The across the body that last intercepted was bad. And last year, I mean, that offensive line, I know that offensive line play has been bad here, but they were begging for Austin Deculus to come back in. So I think it's just a little bit different. I think what Justin Herbert's going through right now is what Peyton Manning's gone through, what Lamar Jackson has gone through, where you set the standard here and you gotta overcome it. It just felt like a mental type of thing with CJ Stroud, to where I think that's kind of the difference in the Justin Herbert. But I do think nationally there is a healthy amount of people that are probably saying the same thing about Justin Herbert that they are with CJ. But I think the actual manner in which it happened, I think CJ's 2 games, you said 1, Sean, I would say 2. That was the troubling thing. And I think if it had just been 1 performance, it would be easier to dismiss. But between seeing what we saw in Pittsburgh and then hearing him say that he thought he played well, and then seeing what we saw in New England, it was a two-piece combo. And I think that's probably where the hesitation and all that to completely buy in exists. But I do agree, like, we've at least seen the good. So it's not something like, it's not using our complete imagination, and we just saw really bad.
Yeah, Landry, that's a great point, right? One, maybe we can rule out as some level of noise in the data set. Two is some level of trend that we have to acknowledge. I think that's one of them. The thing that I would also get to, which we get to like kind of the cultural aspects of this, there's some confirmation bias happening here when it comes to why are people so afraid of the idea of like the mentals. One, and I find it to be a silly one. I find it to be an absurd one. However, let's be honest, there's a lot of people in the world of sports who think like this. He played quarterback at Ohio State. For some reason, this has become a thing where we go, Ohio State quarterbacks are going to fail by hook or by crook. And so people have been looking for the circumstance for which, oh, there it is, the Ohio State quarterback not working. I think that is part of it. And then the other thing about it is, look, man, you compare him to Justin Herbert. Ain't nobody worried about whether or not Justin Herbert is tough. That's a big, tough son of a gun. You know, with CJ Stroud, the thing that is going to continue to haunt him, and I honestly think it's something that endears him to his teammates, but obviously not everybody views it the same. That time that Tank Dell, his homeboy, got hurt in Kansas City, and he was seen crying, right? Like, these are the things that the largely the machismo of our football watching public, right? They are going to see that, they're going to latch onto that, and then everything that falls into that confirmation bias of, well, we thought you was soft, and everything that could maybe be seen in that lens is also going to be more towards that. So I think that all those things work together, in addition to, like you said, a couple of really bad games at the end, then coming around where we go, yeah, is it going to be there? Plus, one thing that I think we do in sports generally, which is, regardless of the circumstances, especially when the quarterback wins, if we can go around and we go, hey, you ain't won in a certain point, right? Like, we like the early portions of things where things are fun. I say this in basketball a lot, where you get the volume score. The volume score is fun until we expect you to all of a sudden be something serious. And if you've always been that, our entire perspective changes on you, even though nothing changed about you. I think that we're in that portion of the quarterback thing, whatever that is, with CJ as well.
I think the other variable too is with CJ is how much belief does he have in what the Texans have done to improve that side of the ball this offseason. If I were CJ going into last year, I wouldn't have had a tremendous amount of belief going in with what they did on the offensive line, you know, the journeyman approach that they took. The fact that, you know, I don't know at what point in the offseason CJ was in tune with the fact that Joe Mixon was going to be a major question mark at the very least. And then you're replacing him with Nick Chubb and a rookie. And then you got a lot of young receivers, and it took CJ a while to get on the same page with those guys early in the year. You know, there's a ramp up, you know, in terms of knowing where you need to be for CJ and so forth. So he's got all these receivers now who are a year further everybody's a year more in the system. The young receivers, the rookie receivers are now having a full off season, and a full, you know, just a whole year of experience under their belt to get on the same page. You've made significant, compared to what you had, at least significant upgrades on the offensive line that CJ at least clearly has enough confidence in to have recruited Wyatt Teller a couple of years ago and welcomed Braden Smith to the team with open arms. He was the first one to text him, that kind of, there's at least an enthusiasm level, it seems like, about these moves from what we've heard. And then I think David Montgomery is an upgrade over what they had at running back last year. So I don't know how to quantify it, but if CJ's got more belief in what they did around him this offseason, it probably puts him in a better headspace, at least in terms of, you know, confidence, belief in the organization, that kind of thing. I don't know how to quantify it, but I don't think it is insignificant. You know, I think it's something.
Yeah, I think a lot of it's kind of a vibe too. Like, I don't know how to really explain it, but like, there's never been an athlete that I've covered that is like, what's the mood going to be this week? And I'm not sitting here saying that he's like moping around like 24/7, but it's not very hard to read. Like when a guy in the middle of an NFL season 2 years ago says, I'm not having very much fun, you kind of like, well, damn, I've never really heard someone say that, like, in season amidst something. And then sometimes you kind of see where he just kind of looks a little bit defeated or worn out a little bit. Like, I don't think it's malicious. I'm not saying this to say that it's malicious. I'm not even saying it's invalid. And that it's not, there's not a reason or something that we don't understand, but it does feel like there are times, and it felt like he was kind of heading that way before he got hurt. And then when he came back, he almost appeared recharged. Like, his whole vibe seemed like he was almost like recharged. It feels like he hits a wall like a couple months into the season, at least the last two. But stepping away, it felt like he was recharged. So that's just another element of it that's just kind of hard to, I guess, like completely buy in. I'm not going to sit here and say that it's not normal and that what is not hard in many ways, but it's kind of what it just feels deeper than just his abilities is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, and another thing when we start talking about between the ears is how much, because you talk about believing in the pieces around him. That one feels easier. Do we know that he believes in the system? And you can play blame wherever you want, right? The way that they decided to play football this year, as much as you can say it makes sense with the level of defense, the things that CJ Stroud has stated that he likes with, and obviously we've all been at jobs where we do things that we don't like all the time, right? We understand this about work. But the things that he stated that he likes, being able to go and attack downfield, those are things that have been pretty patently removed from this offense, except for special occasions and circumstances when you can build to it. And there's not like that doesn't necessarily jive with somebody. And I could see, rather, is the way I should say this. I could see how someone could go, I mean, I'm coming to work, but this ain't my favorite thing to do. And does that affect how you go about doing your job? Does that affect about your way that you have fun? I think that those are also things that when you ask where the confidence level with CJ Stroud, those are things that affect it as well, depending on what the actual answer is to that question.
Yep. All right, let's shift gears, fellas. We'll find that. We'll start seeing these guys in spring drills and things like that pretty soon. So soon enough, CJ will be talking to the media himself when April or May rolls around. Let's get to the draft and the Texans. And the draft is 3 weeks from Thursday. And we know that it feels like with the Wyatt Teller signing, that might have kind of shifted some urgency with how they use the 28th overall pick. It feels like if they drafted anything but an offensive lineman with the 28th overall pick before the Wyatt Teller signing, there might have been some sort of mutiny. That settled that down. I still think offensive line is high on the list of needs for this team until we see this group actually go out and play. We can't ignore the injury history with a couple of these guys as well. But in the minds of you guys, I've got my list here, but you tell me yours. The biggest draft needs right now for the Houston Texans are ...
I would say defensive tackle is number one. Tight end is number two. And I would say center. I'll be specific. Center is number three. Those would be my three. But I think there's a lot of flexibility to where if the opportunity presents itself, I could see a situation where they take a defensive end really early. If D'Amico likes him, I could see a situation where they like a linebacker a little bit. I could see a situation where an offensive lineman that maybe can play multiple positions and play one really, really good at starting quality is something that they look at. But that would be mine. It would be DT, TE, and center.
Yeah, I mean, I'm in a similar place. I think that if we're just doing this logically, the defensive interior defensive line, you still have a spot in your normal rotation that you could use. And that's a situation where you got some older guys. Tight end is interesting because I feel you. I just feel like they could also very easily convince themselves that you've got guys that have not had opportunities and you've got two guys you probably feel comfortable running out there on any given situation. Interior offensive line, I will absolutely stump for here, though, still. And center is probably a very good one to throw up here. But when we start talking about, because we've talked about it, they've kind of papered over all their starting spots, but where are the places that depth really would pop up? Let one of those interior offensive linemen need to miss a game. I already don't like what we're talking about on fill-ins, right? And that's considering Evan Brown. I don't hate that. But as soon as you have to start doing all right, who steps in, I get to a really interesting place. So I would very much love to have a young interior offensive lineman, preferably center, but somebody that's going to push these guys first and foremost, but then obviously add a level of depth there. But linebacker is something I'm glad you brought up because last year you went in with 4 potential linebackers, right? And now one of them fell off a cliff in Christian Harris, RIP, I guess, in a way of speaking. Only God knows if that happens again, right? Henry Toto he's been very good since, he's found that level and found that spot next to Azeez. But I don't know that I'm completely sold that that's exactly how it stays. We've seen instances where it kind of does not look the same. EJ Speed has been really good, but is that something that you can consider is going to be absolutely consistent? And then again, if this gets injured, that is very much the weaker spot, I guess, in a way of speaking, in what is the strength of your team and what is kind of the lead of what you're doing here. Plus, The easy thing to start thinking about now that you have a pretty nicely built team, is how do these draft picks make you look in not just this year, but the year prior, or the year after, rather. And Azeez Al-Shaair and Henry To'oTo'o, your two starting linebackers, would be out of contract. And I think there's people that feel comfortable with the idea of Azeez re-signing. I'm not sure exactly how everybody feels about Henry To'oTo'o, but I'd like to have somebody in the building that's starting to understudy just in case one or both of those guys is no longer at linebacker. I think that's the consideration they have to have.
Okay. Mine mirrors a lot of what you guys just said. I'll frame it this way. Mine is interior defensive line is at the top for mine, because that's what I'd like to see them use the 28th pick on. I'd like to see them use the 28th pick on a guy who's going to get on the field. And in a perfect world, if they're drafting an interior offensive lineman, unless it's centers don't normally go with the 28th overall pick. So if they're drafting a guard at 28 or even 38th, it's probably not somebody in a perfect world who gets on the field for maybe even 2 years. So it doesn't mean if they take one at 28 or 38, I'm going to be pissed off or anything. I'm just telling you how I'm prioritizing it. So I have interior defensive line. I would say O-line after that, maybe starting with the 59th pick, O-line, just because until we see that this group, that this offensive line coach, that this offensive coordinator can get this group of offensive linemen playing in a way that's an upper half of the league kind of way at the very least, then I'm all for shuffling offensive line through. My next thing I put was defensive depth. And I don't care if it's edge. I don't care if it's linebacker. I don't care if it's corner. I already mentioned D tackle. Interior D line I think is a higher need than that. I'm talking about these positions where they've got these Pro Bowlers, but then the guys right after them are either not even on the roster right now, or they're guys that we know what they are, and they're very interchangeable and replaceable. So I just say in general, defensive depth. Like if we start to get to 59 and 69 overall, and they're drafting linebackers and corners, edge guys, I'm totally cool with that. I would still prioritize running back. Not with 28, maybe not even with 38, but if Jadarian Price were there at 59, I would take Jadarian Price. Anytime I bring up running back now that they traded for David Montgomery, people seem to be like, no, they're good now. They got Montgomery and Woody Marks. And I'm like, did we watch the last couple of years where we're just one big hit away from really, suspect depth getting on the field? There's no crime in having 3 running backs that you feel really, really good about, especially when you can find roles for Woody Marks is going to have a role with David Montgomery as the lead back. Woody Marks now has a more defined role, I think, than his role was defined last year. It was playing out of character as a guy touching the ball 20 times a game. He'll have a more defined role that fits what he does. I think even if they drafted Price, I think if he gets on the field and gets you 10 touches, you can put him in the return game too. He's an outstanding return guy in college as well. There's ways to get him on the field. And then, when you're done with the David Montgomery thing in a year or two, he's your guy after that. So I have running back still written down. Tight end is interesting to me because I wrote that down also. I'm very curious if the way they've been as bullish as they've been, Caserio in particular, on Cade Stover the last couple years, if they're still in a place that affects how they look at that position in the draft. I know you're laughing, but
I'm laughing at Landry because Landry was sick by that.
I know. No, I'm pointing to Landry. I know, but I'm just saying, they talked about him like not a normal 4th round pick. Like they really liked Cade Stover. And so I don't know, if Sadiq drops them at 28, does it prevent you? No, it shouldn't, obviously. I'm just talking about when we start to get into the 2nd and 3rd and 4th rounds, how, where's the priority level? Like how is he thought of in the building? Because Dalton Schultz is obviously your starter. I think, Moreau is not an automatic to make the team or anything, but I think he's got a role. I think he's as a blocking tight end to be able to get them out of these the overuse of these jumbo situations. I think he was brought onto the team for a reason. So, then are you going to use a 2nd or 3rd round pick if you feel like Cade Stover is ready to make a jump in year 3? Again, I'm skeptical of it too. I would draft a tight end. What I'm saying is I'm curious how they feel about Cade Stover. That's all I'm saying.
And I think that's always the balance that sometimes gets lost in translation. Sometimes when you talk about this team 24/7, is you're kind of playing a tennis match between what you think that they think and what you think they to do, and you got to separate the two. I will say this: if Nick Caserio is still high on Cade Stover, then I question him as a GM at this point. Like that would be, but I get what you're saying, because I mean Dare Gumbawale was here for 5 years and Dameon Pierce was here for 4. So
yeah, Dameon Pierce was the one I was going to say. Yeah, like they kept Dameon Pierce around 2 years longer than anybody thought he should be here.
The running back thing I think is interesting because there's a couple of things, and I know this is weird for me to say because I'm always the guy. I think ever since me and you have been working like in the same city and covering this team, Sean, I think for the last 10 drafts or whatever it's been, I've said draft 2 running backs, draft a running back, draft a running back. It sucks that this is, and I think there are probably some gems in there, but this is probably the worst running back class that I can remember in a while, as far as just like what you see before it begins to play out. So that's kind of a little bit unfortunate. But I will say this, like, I think sometimes you should probably follow the crumbs, and just like if someone gives you some hints, like at least like factor them in. And if you're comfortable with David Montgomery and Woody Marks at this point, let's at least factor in that Woody Marks literally limped off the field in every game last year. I know he only missed 1, but he literally limped off the field every single game. And this is a really tough guy. And it might speak more to his toughness, the fact that he only missed 1 game. But I don't think that we can just completely look at that and say, okay, this guy's going to play a complete season, because he did give you like 8 or 9 of those hints, how many ever games it was. And that's not an exaggeration. The other thing is, in this division, we've seen guys who were running backs taken on day 3 or a little bit later in the draft. We've seen them have really, really good seasons, and then we don't hear from them again. James Robinson was one of the examples that I used in Jacksonville. We never really heard from him again. I know he ended up getting hurt, but we never heard from him again. And then Dameon Pierce. Like, it was to the point where when we were talking about the draft in 2023, like some people were saying, well, if Bijan Robinson and Gibbs are there at 12, you don't even think about that because of what Dameon Pierce did. We do got to kind of like tap the brakes on one year of body of work and what we saw from Woody Marks. So I'm with you. If there is the opportunity at running back there's some other guys that seem like they're kind of climbing. It feels like Price is kind of I talked about this the other day. It feels like he's kind of like at a stalemate of
plateaued, maybe. Yeah, like a plateau.
And it feels like guys like Emmett Washington and Emmett Washington out of or Emmett Johnson out of Nebraska, and Mike Washington. God, those are 2 generic names that I could get. Mike
Washington Jr. The junior adds a little bit of something on top. You know what I mean?
Washington Jr. But it feels like they're getting a lot of hype as well. In the back position.
No, I'm with you guys on the running back. I will say I smiled when you brought up Jadarian Price being a returner, because you're trying to create a fist fight on who gets to return the football, aren't you? Like they got like 3 or 4 dudes that all want to return the football, and you're just trying to add another cat.
I've just seen Price I've seen him go to the house multiple times against USC, who has real athletes out there.
I feel you. But I do like it, because honestly, you talk about reading the tea leaves or reading the crumbs or whatever. Yes, you're right. Woody Marks has walked off. Hey, man, you know who the other running backs are on the roster right now? Jawar Jordan and British Brooks. One who they don't even seem to treat like a running back, and the other one who they had to be basically forced by dire straits to play. I don't know that there's a guy that they actually feel comfortable getting in here and running back outside of the top 2, which is not a way that you want to go any NFL football team into a season, right? So I think that there is something to be said just about that, right? Who is the 3rd guy that they would feel comfortable throwing in there? And if you say Jawar Jordan with a straight face, cool. I don't believe you.
No. The running back and wide receiver are interesting. Not to get, we're talking about the draft right here, so going a little off the path. Like they're probably not done in free agency yet. I'm guessing they're gonna, they're still, the guys that are all out there now are older, for the most part, are older guys who are probably just kind of, waiting it out and waiting for the best opportunity. Hell, some of them might be waiting till after off-season activities or whatever. Who knows? But I do think running back and wide receiver in particular are rooms that they could bring in a veteran guy too. So gonna be interesting, man. 3 weeks from Thursday. Do you guys think that when Thursday, April 23rd rolls around, the Texans are holding the 28th overall pick in the draft?
Is Simpson on? Has he been drafted yet? Because I could see Simpson being this year's Jackson Dart.
I'm saying going in when the Las Vegas Raiders are on the clock. do the Texans hold the 28th overall pick? In other words, have they traded it like they did 2 years ago when they did it, in March, or are they? Is it more of a draft night thing, or do you think they hold on to the 28th overall?
I think they do, and I think the reason has to do with the position that I think we all agree that they need is defensive tackle, because I actually believe, and I think some people believe this too, that if they could have gotten Byron Murphy with that first pick, I don't think they would have traded out. And I think if Byron Murphy had been there where their original pick was, I think D'Amico Ryans would have probably been throwing some stuff and been a little bit pissed, because I think he liked Byron Murphy, but Byron Murphy wasn't there. I think D'Amico Ryans is in love with a DT right now, and I don't think he's just going to completely bail on that until draft day, where he decides or he comes to the realization that it's not going to happen. So I don't think we see a situation where they make like a Diggs trade. I do think they'll have the 28th. Now, I kind of got ahead of the conversation. Do they pick at 28 is another issue on itself. And I think that's where you start kind of watching Ty Simpson and some of these other guys. Like if Arizona and the Jets, like if the Jets don't use one of their first round picks on Ty Simpson and they're sitting there at the front of day 2, or Arizona, then that's where I think it's possible that you do trade back like you did last year when the Giants came up and got Dart.
I'm going to go no, just off of the kind of probabilities of this is a more unhinged, for lack of a better term, or unmoored is the word that I should use here. Unmoored Nick Caserio, right? I know that he gets out here saying he doesn't even know what drafted for need is, but this is, I mean, if he didn't know it before, he hasn't even thought of the concept in this year, right? Like there is so much freedom. And for Nick Caserio, that at least it seems like very much likes the wheeling and dealing of it, it does feel like this would provide him the opportunity, whether they go up and get somebody that they really like, knowing that, the extra of what they have allows them to do that, or whether they go, you talk about defensive tackles. There's a few defensive tackles that you feel like they could take in anywhere from that space to later in the second round. What stops them from going, we can find some value in here, even though this doesn't feel like really the draft where people move up necessarily, but maybe they find some level of value because we know Nick Caserio just works them phones and they go, bump it. We can get some extra out of this. We can find some more in a time where we are not beholden by our roster construction right now. I think that it's way too open for him to not take advantage of that, or at least it feels like the probability would lean in my favor in this way.
I could see him. I could see, I can see it going one of two ways. I definitely could see him backing out of the first round night of the draft because he did it last year. And there's a quarterback that kind of fits that Jackson Dart ilk. If he slips and teams are wanting to get that 5th-year option because they pick him in the first round, just like the Giants last year, I could totally see that happening. I could also see if they are targeting certain position groups, and if defensive tackle is one of them, if, Peter Woods from Clemson and Caden McDonald are the two names that keep getting mocked to the Texans, if they start to slip into that early 20s range and Nick trades up into a window there, he talks about that all the time. He trades into windows, knowing that he can get one of those two guys. I could totally see that. I could totally see him duking a 4th-round pick, just to some, or like, their pick and a 3rd rounder for the 22nd pick and a 4th or a 5th rounder, that kind of thing. They move back on day 3 to move up on or they move back in day 2 into day 3 to move up in day 1 to guarantee they get a guy like that. I think there's just as good a chance of that happening because they tried to do it last year and they were unsuccessful doing it. They tried to move up in the first round last year, reportedly, and go get Tyler Booker or maybe Gray Zabel or one of those interior offensive linemen, and they didn't get it done. And once they didn't get it done, they just backed out. I could totally see them trying to, and maybe even successfully doing something like that this year. It's fun. Yeah, I mean, you hit it, Reggie. Like it's not only it's fun from the standpoint of there's nothing super acute that you feel like they have to have. So you've got pretty much free reign. I think there's some things they need more than others, but if they don't come away with in the first round with those things, it's not the end of the world. And Nick's a guy who's not afraid to move around one way or the other. So it makes it really exciting. It's very harrowing if you're at the draft party, however, and you're hoping that for the 2nd straight year you don't get fucked.
I've never understood people getting upset about that. I think it's awesome. I think it's part of the experience. Like it's
you don't.
No, who cares? What are you doing? You just want to cheer for 10 seconds? I get excited if they trade back and they have more picks. We still partied, we still drank, we still had fun, we still had information. Come on.
This is an extreme example, but Dude, when they drafted Will Anderson with that third pick, like that was, I mean, that's an extreme example. That's I understand it's different than drafting Caden McDonald with the 28th overall pick, but there is a fellowship thing about being with other fans where you get that newest Houston Texan and you're high-fiving them and things like that. You see, you're coming at this from a broadcaster, like a level-headed.
I don't even think it's that. I think it's just Landry's get down is particular. Landry's like, what is this party for? It don't matter. It's a party, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, right? There's a lot of other folks that go, hey man, I came for game night. Why they ain't no board games? You know what I mean? I feel like Landry is like, hey, we all together, pop the bottle, let's have a good time. That's not how a lot of people come to things, man.
Draft has always been my thing. Like even in college, it was a 2-day kegger. Like literally 2-day kegger. Anyone, everyone, all that. But I will say, I may be guilty as charged, and I'll shout out my one of my mentors, rest in peace, Mark Friedman. He told me a lot of times, don't do a show for the effing press box. So maybe I am kind of doing a show for the effing press box when it comes to me not being able to relate.
Yeah, you like, hey, everybody, what did we get? A 4th rounder. Yeah.
No.
It doesn't do it.
Landry, you have every right to have your kink. You know, that's your deal. They like the extra picks. But you've got to understand like why people get upset when there's not a pick made at the draft party, right?
Just enjoy yourself. You're good.
2027 number 2. Let's go.
And I'll just say, remember Kenyon Green. Remember how excited you were when Kenyon Green got picked. Remember that.
I was not.
Sure. And this is the thing. That's what people are showing up for, that feeling. If the player ends up sucking, it'd be like that sometimes, but people came for the feeling, man.
Yeah, I guess. No, Kenyon Green, that's a bad example. That's a really good counter example to my argument. If you're trying to win the argument with me, Landry, your argument, that's a good chess move because I didn't like the Kenyon Green pick when it was made for 2 reasons. One, I was a Kyle Hamilton guy throughout the entire draft process.
Wonder why.
He's a good player. No, but I had a little extra Notre Dame spice on it too. I will admit, to the point where I think I just bugged the shit out of Caserio. I think he might have traded back and drafted Kenyon Green just to mess with me. But then I'm just not a fan of drafting interior offensive linemen with the 15th overall pick. I just don't feel like, especially that was a team that needed everything. You know what I mean? Like that was the 2022 draft. Like that was, we weren't, Lovie Smith hadn't coached it down as the head coach yet. That's the stage that team was at. So drafting guard, I'm like, no, go get something more impactful. So yeah, good chess move by you there, Landry. That's you've kind of brought me around on the just get excited about drinking with people option. All right, let's
future first rounder.
Let's tell people. Well, we'll get to Caserio's best and worst picks here in a second. So, but let's tell people about Prize Picks, fellas. We love playing Prize Picks, America's #1 daily fantasy app. All you're doing, it's super easy to play. Cody's not here to show you guys what the screen looks like, but we can explain very easily what the concept is because it's so easy to play. All you're doing is picking between 2 and 6 players. And you're picking a stat for each of those players, just more or less. That's it. And you're putting them in a lineup. And the more you get right, the more you win. And you can win up to 20, or you can win up to 2,000 times your money. You can turn $10 into $20,000 on Prize Picks. It's a great time of year to play too. I'm guessing they're going to have draft stuff on there on Prize Picks, as long as we talk about the draft. But baseball season is here, fellas. We still got a couple more, 3 more basketball games left to be played.
Mm-hmm.
NBA
and then
season.
Playoff basketball, baby. That's even
Playoff
better.
basketball, pro basketball, yes. Very, very exciting. And if you download Prize Picks and use the code Texans, just play a $5 lineup that you don't even need to win. You're going to get $50 in bonus lineups. We load you up. You can play a bunch of lineups. And this is a great time. You guys got a favorite this time of year that you like to sprinkle into your lineup? Are you a baseball or are you a basketball guy?
I'm going to go with UConn. I'm going to go with Ball over points. He's playing much better since the tournament started. So I'm going to go over points with Mr. Ball.
Oh, there you go.
Unfortunately, you know me. I'm waiting until the English Premier League starts back up on the 13th.
Soccer is on Prize Picks, man.
Look, man, I stick to the rivers and lakes that I'm used to. That's where I can be successful for the people of the Texans Collective.
Okay, Chili.
I'm glad that you picked it up. I'm glad you did.
Well, I told you my little thing that I like on there with baseball is finding. Now, it didn't work real well with Hunter Brown on opening night, but I expect that it's going to work well in his next start, which is tomorrow, I believe, because he's due. but pitcher outs recorded is one of the ones that I like. I won a lot of lineups last year, just finding really good pitchers going against really bad teams, and all they got to do is make it through, 5 2/3 innings or 6 innings, and you can win that lineup. So that's my little thing that I like to play on there. We got a super chat here from that Fort Worth guy. Thanks for bringing up Mark Friedman, R.I.P. Yeah. I didn't know him, Landry.
Nah, yeah, he was. He's kind of got like a little pipeline, but yeah, he's back in DFW. Been in skin out there. Know about him a little bit, but yeah, don't do a show for the effing press box. Don't trade your media. You're in here trading media trading cards. Quit that bullshit.
That's a really good point. Got to remember you know where I fall into the issue there is I talk for the press. Well, actually, I'm not sure if I even talk for the press box. People be getting me on the, hey man, you're using these big words. I'm like, my bad. I need to talk to the people instead of talking to, I don't know.
I enjoy it. You drop some nugs on there.
And I just want to make it clear, I'm not doing it intentionally to be pretentious or anything. I think you guys know me. I'm not pretentious by trade. I'm just Nigerian. No. This is how we use language.
I'm a smart guy, guys. Look, I'm not trying to show off.
No, it's not even that I'm smart, because trust me, you'll hear Nigerians use big words and we will not use them correctly. You know what I mean? Like, we just like using big words. We are predisposed to such things.
I've never found you using any of the words you use incorrectly, Reggie.
Well, yeah, I'm one of the good ones. So I just had to. I was like, there's no way to do this. Landry already called me out on I'm smart. So I just had to get there eventually.
It's all good. It's all good. All right, fellas, got a couple more things to get to here on a Monday on the Texans Collective. Again, download the Prize Picks app, put in that $5 lineup. Do it tonight. Get in on a bunch of plays. I'm pointing at my TV. A bunch of plays on the Astros game tonight. You get $50 in bonus lineups. Promo code Texans.
You on Lance McCullers? You're on the Lance McCullers? Is that what we're doing?
Little Lance, I would go Lance McCullers less than on whatever the number of outs he's being asked to record until I see otherwise.
Fair enough.
If for no other reason, that's been the trend with the Astros over the weekend. So, yeah. All right. So Nick Caserio, this is fun. So we're 5 drafts in with Nick Caserio, right? We had the draft when he first got here in 21, where he had like no picks, didn't pick till the 3rd round. Then he had a couple drafts where he had a shit ton of picks. Shout out to Sean Watson. And then 24, no pick in the 1st round, but made some good picks. And then last year, obviously the jury is still out, but no pick in the 1st round of that draft either. So if we were giving superlatives out for Caserio's best pick and worst pick, what are they?
I think you already mentioned the worst. It's obviously Kenyon Green. I don't even know, is anyone going to push back on that? Like, we can all agree Kenyon Green, 1st round, worst pick. For me, the best pick is Derek Stingley in that same draft. And this is my reasoning for that. Number one, I think anyone could have picked CJ Stroud, number 2 overall. You needed a quarterback. And regardless of what happens with the quarterback, it was between CJ Stroud and Will Anderson, and they were going to trade up. So they made that pick. Same thing with Will Anderson. You got the 2 guys that you were talking about at 2 and 3. What makes the Derek Stingley pick so good is there were a number of possibilities there, and there were a number of needs, including a guy at his exact same position in Sauce Gardner, who you could probably make a case from a scheme perspective. He probably fit into what Lovie Smith did more so than what the Texans were doing at that time. So I thought they kind of looked past Lovie Smith to make that pick. There were also a lot of other options. Kayvon Thibodeau. I think we were even talking about Evan Neal on the offensive line. There was a number of receivers, Olave, Wilson. I think Drake London was in that draft too. So I think Derek Stingley, and there were injury concerns. And outside of early on where they shut him down when they were tanking, injuries really haven't been that much of a concern. 2024, he missed the month. He hadn't missed a game. He has the longest consecutive on the team. So I would say Derek Stingley, as far as like making the pick, all the possibilities, I would say it's his best pick.
Well, the thing about it, if I choose to be like kind of devil's advocate here, In the same way that you're going, CJ Stroud was going to be a fairly easy pick just because you had, the other of the best two options, Will Anderson Jr. I think that you had to go get him in some ways. I think that also pops up. But if you're talking about Will and you go, oh man, that was the easy one because he was really good on a really good team, I present to you Derek Stingley at DBU, LSU. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like that's not the most difficult. He showed up on campus at LSU as a freshman as like a grown ass man. You know what I mean? That didn't feel like it was crazy hard. I get after the Cincinnati Bengals a lot because they don't have a very robust scouting department. They basically just go, who are the good dudes at big schools? And it feels like they've kind of done that to some degree. If I'm going to posit a potential other option, because I think I would agree largely if I'm going to be entirely honest, but I'm going to get in my lawyer and try and make a counter argument. Can I give you Kamari Lassiter here? Because I feel like Kamari Lassiter is, again, good dude at a big school, don't get me wrong, but there were reasons that people would take knocks on him when it comes to obviously the foot speed in a cornerback position where you need foot speed. Like it takes a little bit of cojones to be able to stand in your belief and your trust in the tape to go, no. Y'all just don't get it. Like, he's going to be able to get the job done. And not just, I mean, he's a second rounder, so it's not like this is crazy, but you're talking about a first rounder who's an all-pro. Kamari Lassiter has been damn near that as a second rounder here, and there was a little bit more different. And it's not just second rounder, like this is 42 versus 3. You know, I mean, I feel like I would probably, in trying to make the argument, go to the Kamari Lassiter because it's not crazy to think that in a couple years' time you end up with Kamari Lassiter as a Texan and not Derek Stingley.
I agree with you on that. The pushback on this, and we had this discussion a little bit last week, is I think Kamari Lassiter on a good roster might be a top 5 player on the team. And I think he probably should have been a Pro Bowler last year. I think he got snubbed. So I agree with everything you're saying. But when it comes to actually making the pick, I don't know that they take Kamari Lassiter over Kool-Aid McKinstry, Cooper DeJean, and those other things. So I think the possibility for mistake was kind of taken away from them before, which that says something, because we saw Blake Fisher the year before. He started the tackle run, and it feels like they made the mistake. So I agree with you. Like, on the surface, if you get the 42nd overall pick and he's damn near an all-pro caliber corner, that is more impressive than number 3. I just think there were more choices with Stingley, but I agree with you 100% on Kamari Lassiter. Like, you can't really go wrong with either side of the argument.
I don't disagree with anything you guys have said in terms of all of the ones you've talked about being involved in either side of the, best or worst conversation. They're all good arguments. The ones I would add to it, I almost feel like there should be a rule. Like, when it's best pick, it should be something that's day 2 or day 3. And when it's worst pick, I don't even care about day 3. It's something that happened on day 1 or day 2. So those kind of my own rules, right?
The rules.
The exception being, like, Will Anderson Jr. was a 3rd overall pick, but that was a ballsy fucking trade. I mean, he gave up a lot, Caserio did, to move up, and got really criticized by a lot of people for how much he gave up to move up to take a non-quarterback. And I know we can sit here and argue that, well, if they taken Will at 2, then they trade up and take CJ at 3, whatever. The bottom line is he gave up more than people thought he should have given up to go get Will Anderson. So I think if we're using the sum total of moves made to go get a guy who's become one of the best players in football, it's hard not to ignore that. I think Kalen Bullock in the 3rd round is a really, really is a good one. Is someone, and that's going to be one that they're going to get to a point here where the math is going to catch up to them, and they're going to have to let one of these guys go, and he might end up being that guy just because of the position that he plays, and it's he's going to lose out in a battle o' swarm when it comes to, like, the putting the order together of who they keep. Yeah. Like Kamari Lassiter, there's going to be guys that are just, I think, ahead of him on that, how they're perceived by D'Amico Ryans and Nick Caserio. Nobody proactively brings up Kalen Bullock's name. D'Amico can't shut up about Kamari Lassiter and Will Anderson, that kind of thing. Nico Collins in the 3rd round, and what he's turned into is a good one. At the time, I remember the Jimmy Johnson chart being used, and I was probably guilty of it. Like, wow, how could they give up this extra 4th to go up 20 spots and go get this Nico Collins guy who didn't even play last year or whatever? That's obviously worked out. So those would be ones I would add to the ones you guys had. As far as the worst goes, it's easy to pile on and put Juice Scruggs on there. It's easy to pile on and put Blake Fisher on there as of right now. Scruggs ahead of Fisher in the worst pick category just because Fisher still got time to, I'm not confident it's going to happen, but he's only in year 2. Scruggs just got thrown in the recyclables after 3 years. The John Mechie sequence of things, trading picks to move up 20 spots to draft Mechie.
Yeah.
It's not Nick's fault Mechie got cancer.
That's the thing. It's so hard to make this case, even though you're right. You're not wrong.
I'm
but
just
like the
talking
dude that
about
got
what
cancer.
the results are for that pick. That's all. I'm just talking about the results. I'm not mad at Nick. I'm not mad at Mechie. I'm mad at cancer.
That's right.
I'm always mad at cancer.
Correct.
But the John Mechie pick was a failure. He was the 44th overall pick, and now he's on like his 4th team. So those would be the ones that I would kind of tack on. I mean, the Kenyon Green one is just really. It's almost the category is almost worst pick not named Kenyon Green.
That's fair. What would it be? Worst pick not named Kenyon Green.
The ones I just named, I'd go with Mechie. And that makes me a bad person. I get it, but that's just where he was picked. They traded up to get him, and you got nothing out of him.
Yeah, and I think the name that we were arguing about at the time was James Cook. Was like the name that
was it? Oh, geez, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that was. But I'm always it's you got to put an asterisk there because I'm always like right back around that time. But like, it was James Cook, and I think it was George Pickens. Quite frankly, I don't know that George Pickens and like the atmosphere that he would have come into would have really worked out. Like maybe like in 2024, 2025, like we could see Pickens, but I don't know, like on the 2022, 2021 Texans, whichever it was with Mechie, I don't know that that's necessarily going to be awesome for George Pickens.
It would have been a bad environment for George Pickens, the 2022 Texans. Oof.
Just a random thought that I had as you were talking, because I don't really have very much to add. I think you guys have done a fantastic job. How much of a force multiplier do you get for Kalen Bullock that him and Kamari Lassiter are like this? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, because that is not nothing, right? Obviously, they are attached at the hip, and it's cute and all, and it's great for social media. It does seem like it makes them better players, though.
Yeah. I mean, holding each other accountable, that kind of thing. I think there's probably something to that.
I will say though, I think they're good influences on each other.
Yeah.
I'm not sitting here like saying that there's anything like malicious about it, but I don't think you reap the benefits of like Laramie Tunsil and Titus Howard looking up to Laramie Tunsil because he wasn't as talented and it was a different vibe. But those guys, they're kind of nerdy. Like they just want to go play football. They hang out and stuff. So I think they're good influences on each other. But I do agree with you. Just the way that they're built, it does kind of add to it. And it is like social media type of. They're walking to the field together. They got the
Hawk and Lock.
Yeah,
Hawk and Lock, baby.
And the thing about it is great is it doesn't stop at the facility. They just be hanging out everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Like we stayed at the hotel that the Pro Bowlers were at when we were in San Francisco. And I walk into the elevator. I'm waiting for it to close, and here comes Kamari and Kalen Bullock. And I was like, damn, y'all don't go nowhere together without each other, huh? Like nowhere.
They're good buddies, man. All right, last thing before we get out of here, and this is probably a topic that will have legs for a while this offseason, but how have our expectations for 2026 evolved here over the last few weeks with the, I think, perceived at least improvements that the team has made in some key spots? And if we're judging the temperature of anybody's seats here heading into spring and summer and eventually the season, does anybody have the heat knob turned up on their seat right now in the building over there?
I think Nick Caley's probably the one that's on the hot seat the most. I don't see a scenario where anything happens this year where you're firing Nick Caserio and firing D'Amico Ryans. I do think there might be maybe something behind the scenes where they really have to figure out what they're going to do about the offense if it doesn't work out, given I think this is Caserio's baby right now, and before it was D'Amico's guy. But I don't think either one of them are on the hot seat. But I would say Caley and CJ Stroud, this is kind of figure out something about that. That would be who I would say would be on the hot seat. But I don't think there's any scenario where I think or it happens where D'Amico or Caserio get fired after this season.
That simple, right? Everybody else seems to have a decent amount of runway. And even the Caley thing, it's kind of tough because I can see the reasons why one would bring up to not get rid of him. And one of the things that I've often felt is like the question that should be asked is not why should this person be fired, but why should they stay? Right? Why should this person stay on the job? However, that's the metric that I think a lot of people use, especially in circumstances where they like the person. And it's probably fair to look around and see at least the ties that are had by a lot of the offensive staff and the front office in this and go, they probably like these folks. And so I think that they will get the benefit of the doubt, right? But there is something to be said for there is some level of heat. It's not on zero because, hey, we got you all the groceries now. Can you cook something, right? Is ultimately the question that is asked, especially in this landscape where we've seen a lot of young dudes come in as offensive play callers and give schematic advantage to what their teams do. Nick Haley, you're on the clock, baby. Like, what is the schematic advantage that you bring here? I don't think you're getting fired behind it, but we're going to talk bad about you if you don't.
Yeah. I think D'Amico might have the safest job of any, forget about the Texans. He might have the safest job of any of the coaches or managers in the city right now, compared to Espada and Udoka. D'Amico might have the safest sports job in town. I think we learned a lot over the last couple of weeks about what D'Amico Ryans means to that building and what the public perception of the Texans is based on the culture that D'Amico Ryans has created. The things that guys like Wyatt Teller and Reed Blankenship and Braden Smith, name any of the guys, they all gushed about talking to D'Amico Ryans and learning what it was like in the building, talking to other guys who have been in the building with the Texans and learning. That's all D'Amico, man. That is D'Amico Ryans who created all of that. So I think an interesting conversation, because I don't think D'Amico's on about as ice cold a seat as there is. I don't think Caserio is on a hot seat really at all right now. I think the McNairs are very fond of Nick Caserio, and hopefully these moves work out. And they're more fond of him, I think, than the fan base is. I think the fan base, there's big factions of the fan base that I think are still very much up in the air on Nick Caserio if he doesn't get this offensive line fixed. Kaylee and CJ totally agree with what you said, Landry. I think the interesting conversation is what does it look like if Caserio's seat is hot all of a sudden midway through the season or late in the season? What does it look like if somehow, I can't imagine a scenario. I think the Texans could go 2-15 this year, and I think D'Amico Ryans is still the head coach in 2027. Flat out simple. Unless something totally like outlandish outside of just the football team sucks were to have, some off the field thing that I can't even begin to think what that would be. But the Caserio one, I think, is a more interesting one. Like, okay, what does a scenario look like where we are talking in like week 12 of this coming season about this team, essentially Nick Caserio sitting here with his job possibly on the line over the last 6 weeks of the season, that kind of thing.
Unfortunately, I think it could be kind of deja vu. It could be kind of 2018-ish on a different version where basically the coach picks the GM. And I'm not sitting here saying that's a bad thing. I'm not saying it's a good thing. I'm just saying it's something that we saw. It lasted a year for Bill O'Brien. I don't think D'Amico Ryans has like a Jack Easterby that's going to like completely added that dynamic to that situation. But I think if we do see a scenario where Nick Caserio gets on some sort of hot seat that we don't foresee and he ends up leaving, I think we essentially see D'Amico Ryans probably have a pretty decent hand in bringing in a general manager. Now, what does that mean? Is it someone from the San Francisco tree? I don't think he would be Rand Carthon, but but I think that's where we get if that does happen.
But here, I guess maybe just kind of reframing the question, like what would need to be failing on the team?
The offense. Like if it's very easy, and I think this is why Nick Caserio, this is his offense. Like we got to be honest with ourselves and use common sense. Like this is the system that he was in for 20 plus years. This is a guy that he's known for a long time. So if the offense just looks terrible and abysmal, I think that's what it looks like. That's what I'm judging this offense under the fair or not assumption that this is Nick Caserio's thing. He's the overseer. So I think if the offense just completely plummets, that's what happens. And if maybe the defense is carrying the offense, and kind of like last year, an even more extreme example.
And CJ's getting beat up and injured and things like that.
Yeah, and to get specific, if you see decline in these older linemen that you went and got, where now we can't find a way to fix the linemen in any way, whether it's drafting or going and getting free agents on the bargain bin or going and spending a little bit more on the free agents, if it's failing every which way, I think that's where you can get to a slightly hotter seat. Yes. I did want to say one more thing on the Kaylee thing. The framework also, hey, the Gerard Johnson is no longer here, right? And there was a lot of people that were going, hey, that's the scapegoat that we're ultimately going to say on CJ Stroud, right? If this does not look better, I think that also helps frame the conversation when we talk about a hot seat on the offense coordinator.
Yep. All right, let's get one more super chat in here before we get out. This is again from that Fort Worth guy. Do you think Nick Caserio's wife gets pissed at him because he doesn't grocery shop for need?
But the problem is he don't grocery shop for once. I haven't seen somebody who consumes food more like it's just fuel than Nick Caserio. I don't know that he likes it. Does he enjoy things?
No, I'm jealous, man. Like I wish I could.
Oh yeah,
he does. Like that is a superpower that he possesses that I wish.
Yeah,
that I could, as I'm about to go eat Mexican food,
boy,
get off. Like I wish I had that skill. That's an unbelievable skill to have.
I've run into Nick multiple times at the Whole Foods across the street from my building, so he is living up to the hype. Not an exciting grocery shopper at all.
Yeah, like, what's he got? Like some chicken breasts?
It was a Sunday. It was after I think they had just left church because he had his girls with him, and we ran into each other in the dairy section, and yeah, it was not. He had some fruits and veggies in there, and yeah, it's just now it's Whole Foods, so you gotta stretch to find anything exciting at Whole Foods. Like inherently, I'm a Kroger guy myself. I like my processed
Man of the
food.
people. I've often said that.
Yeah, sue me. I like my processed foods.
Personally, I'm even more of a man of people. I'm HEB. So.
Yeah. Oh, there you go.
HEB all day.
HEB. All right.
I don't know how we ended up here.
We can all still be friends. Yeah, it's all good. We can all agree Whole Foods, way too expensive. Way too expensive.
They're trying to push on TV too, like the cheap food. And I'm like, that's a weird play by y'all. Like the fresh, all that. Like, but they were playing like Eat for Less yesterday. I was watching. I was like, man,
no.
I'm not knocking your company. I'm just saying that's not quite true.
Well, they got the Amazon money, right? Like they might actually be making this happen to try and break that stereotype.
They do have a really good, like not even a salad bar. They have a salad bar, but then they've got like a dinner bar where you pay by the pound, like mac and cheese and mashed potatoes. It's really good.
Underrated quick pizza too there.
Yes, the pizza, dude, like a large pie. They throw it in the oven. You wait for about 15 minutes. Really good pie for that is good value. It's like $12-13, something like that.
Yeah, very underrated. Very underrated quick pizza spot.
I'm on that. We're on the same page on that one, Landry. All right,
who would have
fellas.
thought that that's where we ended? Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Not me.
No, on pizza, Whole Foods pizza. In honor of Cody Stutes, we wound up on groceries at the end of the show.
He's getting fat shamed not being here. That's crazy, man.
In honor of Cody Stutes. All right. Hey, everybody out there, follow Cody because he's out at the owners' meeting. So he'll be providing a lot of good stuff, I'm sure. What's so funny, Reggie?
Whole Foods in the chat. Thank you for that. I appreciate it.
Oh, Whole Foods?
Yeah, I appreciate that. That's good.
The Ho's doing good?
Last I checked.
Yeah,
last
good.
I checked. Yeah.
It's like you keep them in a closet somewhere.
No. But I just reach out.
Yeah. I hear you.
Yeah, don't put that on me. They're gonna be the feds gonna be in all over me.
It's got to be gift suits down in the basement. Yeah.
No, I do not have anybody in my closet, officer.
All right, fellas. Enjoyed this as always. We'll do it again. Now we're up in the schedule here, right? Are we taking this? Are we? I looked at the group text a little bit earlier. We're soon going to be doing a couple episodes a week, right?
Ooh.
We're gonna get there. Yeah, we're gonna get there. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So just a little tease.
Just a little.
Little tease for the people.
Just a little.
Little tease for the people. So things are popping here, and we thank Prize Picks for being the title sponsor here for the Texans Collective. Again, take a look at the bottom of the screen right there. Play a $5 lineup, get $50 instantly when you download Prize Picks. Use the promo code Texans. You don't need football to play Prize Picks. Basketball, baseball, hockey, soccer, MMA, golf, auto racing, whatever it is, you can play it on Prize Picks. Gentlemen, enjoyed this as always. You can catch Reggie Atatula on In the Loop 10 a.m. Tomorrow, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. And Landry Locker, of course, the Locker Room with Landry Locker, SNL with Landry and Cody. Landry, 10:30 tonight. We got a stream coming.
10:30 tonight. The biggest question about every position. Every position. Biggest question about every position.
I like that. Okay, so a little late night Locker Room, 10:30 tonight. And are you guys back out at Spanky's anytime soon?
We're actually have a big draft party planned on April 25th, the Saturday of the draft. We're going to stream the 2 nights before, but we have a big party planned. I think we'll go to Spanky's either the week before or the week after. So.
Okay, but the party is being unveiled at some point here as far as the whereabouts?
Tuesday on SNL, yes.
Okay, cool. So what time? What time you 4 o'clock?
4 o'clock.
Okay, there you go. 4 p.m.
I noticed she
SNL.
didn't put it on day one just in case they trade out. I see.
We always stream day 1, day 2, and then day
There you
3.
go.
Just relax.
Tradition like no other. Tradition like no other.
Trade during the stream. It was still a great stream.
Absolutely. Yeah, hell yeah, it is. You get to react to it. Yeah, and you don't have to worry about the party or anything like that. You guys are already partying on the stream right there, so it's all good. All right, so we're done. We're out of time. We appreciate everybody tuning in. Give us a like. Give us a subscribe. Most importantly, tell a friend, especially Texan fans, about the Texans Collective. We do this every week at the same time, and we hope that you're enjoying it as much as we are doing it for you. So until next week, I am Sean Pendergast. Catch me at 6 a.m. tomorrow. Reggie Attitula, Landry Locker, and as always, right now, I shall end stream. Goodbye, everybody.